All right, so last day, welcome back, I should say. Last day, sorry, get my notes going. We talked about naming simple alkanes, straight chain alkanes. Today, we're going to look at cycloalkanes, and these are pretty easy to name. You need to tell me that it's a ring when you name it, so you do include the word cyclo. But let me kind of go through the steps. I think there's really only one extra step here, and then there's some names for you guys. Oops. So how do you name a cycloalkane? Well, you count the largest number of carbon atoms in the ring, excuse me, and the largest number of carbons in the largest substituent chain. That's a typo there. So what I mean is, if you see a cycloalkane like this, and you see a substituent like a group or a chain, cut them in half and count them separately. Okay, so count the ring on its own and count the long chain on its own. If the number of carbon atoms in the ring is greater than the number in the chain, the compound is named as like kind of like it's named as a cycloalkane. Okay, so as long as the cycloalkane is bigger than this guy, we name it as a cycloalkane. And you'll see me do some examples of this. I know it kind of sounds confusing, but it's not. If you're naming the cycloalkane, these are the names of them. Like this means if the cycloalkane is the biggest carbon number, you name them like this. If the cycloalkane is a group on a chain, I guess a chain, I guess I could say acyclic chain, meaning no ring. You would name it like a group. So instead of saying propyl or methyl or butyl or hexyl, you would say cyclobutyl or cyclohexyl. You won't see this a whole lot. You might see these two, but you won't see the others because we're not dealing with carbon chains this big. I got a question. I've never asked this to my other classes before, but I'm curious. How come I don't have cyclomethane or cycloethane on my list? Where's methane and ethane? How come I don't have them? It's so simple, but you kind of want to think about it.
One of them has one carbon and the other one has two, so we can't make a cycle with this.
Yeah, exactly. That's the easy, that's right, that's it. You can't make a ring or a circle or like you can't close one or two carbons. You can close three because 3 carbons is just a triangle. 4 carbons is a square, and then the shapes get a little more complicated. I will never ask you to draw these on a test because they're very hard to draw. I personally can't even draw them without a computer. But cyclopropane, butane, pentane, and hexane are very easy to draw without a computer. Once you get to like octagons and things like that, it's a lot easier to just use computer software. I don't know how they did it 60 years ago. But yeah, Niam in the chat as well said, we can't have a circle. And I like how you're saying circle. It's not, doesn't need to be a circle, but I know what you mean. They can't form a ring. Okay, so I have a couple of examples here. Let's look at them. Let me see the chat first. Yeah, enclosed shapes, and I am exactly. Enclosed shapes or a ring, whatever you want to say. Well, I guess when I say the word ring, a lot of you think circle anyways. Okay, I have 2 examples, so let me look at numbering these. I have 1, 2, 3 carbons in my ring. In my chain, I have, now notice I'm not going to start over here. I'm going to start closest to anything sticking off of the chain. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so obviously my carbon chain is longer. So the parent of this is definitely hexane. The parent is always the object with the largest number of carbons. So my parent can't be cyclopropane because it only has 3 carbons. So this is called cyclopropane because it has 3 carbons. So when I write it down, I don't write cyclopropane, I write cyclopropyl. That should be one word, by the way. I know there's a little space there. Oh my gosh. There we go. And now I can't just say cyclopropylhexane because obviously you need to tell me where is it. So we say 2. Always put a hyphen after the number or before the number if it's inside the word. Now this one is interesting. Okay, some of you guys might be thinking or noticing there's no number here. So why is there no number? Well, first things first, let's count my carbon chain. So my carbon, or let's count the ring. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I have cyclohexane because it has 6 carbons. Okay, my branch has 1, 2, so it's ethyl. Okay, so that's pretty easy. But here's there's something important here. Because I only have one branch, I I don't need a number. If you wrote for me on a test 1 ethyl, that's no problem. But because this is a ring, there is no beginning or end. Like here on the left, guys, I'm over here on the left. I have to say 2 because there is a beginning and there is an end. And I need to show the reader or the student or the teacher or whoever, where is that cyclopropane? Is it on the first, second, third, fourth, fifth? On the ring, it doesn't matter because I could call this 1, 2, 3. I can number wherever I want. It doesn't matter where I number them. So I don't need to put a number in this situation. You know what this is like, guys? This is like in math class when you have 1x and your teacher just wants you to write x. I don't actually need the 1, but if you do put the 1 there, that's fine by me. Okay, so the 1 is not necessary, but totally okay. All right, sorry, I'm just trying to see what's coming up. Okay, I only have a little bit more to teach you, and then I'm going to ask you guys to practice, and then we'll probably stop at slide 38. And let me just check the chat, see what's going on in there. Geometry, well, algebra would be the 1x thing. The shapes would be geometry, so it's a little bit of both. But in terms of chemistry, this is geometry, not algebra. Okay, now, the second rule, or the second tip, I guess. What if, sorry, I'm having issues going back and forth. Okay, I got it fixed. What if there are 2 branches on your cycloalkane? Then what do? Well, it's really easy. This is, again, if you know how to name an alkane, naming a cyclo is pretty easy, just with a couple of extra tips. So for an acyl substituted cycloalkane, we'll talk about halogens later. That would be a halogen. That's coming up in maybe tomorrow, next class on Monday. But for an alkyl substituted cycloalkane, always start where it's attached and call it carbon 1. So what I mean is, like in this example back here, just you have to call that 1. There's no way around it. And that's why that 1 is optional. You always call it number 1, always. Okay? If you started over here and call this number 1, you're wrong. Okay? You have to start at the branch. Remember, you want the substituent or the branch to be the lowest number. So you have to call this 1. When there are this is important, when there are 2 substituents present. So remember when you see the word substituents, I just mean branches present. Number the ring beginning with the substituent first in the alphabet, aka alphabetical order. Let me show you. Okay, this is easy. Once you practice this, this is pretty easy. Okay. Well, okay, this isn't a bit, okay, there's a few things on this slide. So, okay, let's start. Let's break this down piece by piece before I even name it. I have an ethyl. Oops. I know these branches are going to be the substituents because they're so small. And here I have a methyl. Okay, now this question is more about numbering than anything. Let me just check in the chat. The question in the chat, it says, should we always name the branch before naming the cyclo? Yeah, actually, because the reason you should name the branch first, sorry, is because now you'll know where to start numbering. Because I have this branch named, E obviously comes before M in the alphabet. So what I do, there we go, I'm going to call this number 1 because E is first in the alphabet. Okay, so I will call this number 1 because E comes first. Now, here's the question. Oh, and by the way, this is called cyclohexane. So here's the question. Oh man, I hate this pen. So do I go clockwise or counterclockwise? What I mean is, do I number this way or do I number this way? And I have the answer in front of you. I go this way so that this becomes number 3. Look at this over here. This one over here would be called, if I was naming it, 1 ethyl, 5, oh man, it's like getting worse. Look at that, wow. Oh, guys, what do I do? Somebody help me. If somebody can tell me how to fix this pen, I have a Surface Pro 4 and the Surface Pen 3. If someone can fix this for me, I will bake you a cake or something. I'm pretty good at computers and I can't get it to fix. Anyways, Surface Pro 4, Surface Pen 3, help. PowerPoint. Okay, so look at the problem with this one. Why is this incorrect? Well, 1 and 5 versus the correct answers on the top of the page, guys. 1 and 3. This one gives us lower numbers. Okay, so really, I've mentioned this before, and I probably shouldn't say this because I'm being recorded on YouTube, and if anybody listens, they'll go crazy hearing me say this, but you know, I'm not actually that picky. I would love to see alphabetical order listed first and you number them lowest, but like when you make a mistake like this, maybe you numbered it wrong. Sorry, if you numbered it wrong, I would definitely take off a couple mark or like half of a mark or a mark, depending on what it's worth. But what I mean is in a ring, if you went clockwise versus counterclockwise, you know, I'll be pretty generous. You won't go like you won't lose much. Like I do, when you guys see this, when you do this on your next quiz or assignment, sorry, assignment online, you'll notice like you don't just get a 0, you'll always get part marks. So I'm always looking for, like if I had to mark this guy for you on the test, you know, this is worth a few marks. So let's just look at the name here and think about how I would mark this. Okay, did you call it an alkane? That's like, you know, half a mark. Cyclohexane, the parent, half a mark. Okay, did you name the groups correctly? Ethyl and methyl, another half of a mark each. So we're up to 2 marks. And then did you number them correctly? That would probably be another half of a mark. So, you know, if you make a mistake, even like say you forgot the word cyclo, you'd only lose half of a mark. You get 2 out of 2.5 or something like that. So, you know, don't worry about being perfect unless you want 100. All right. When there are, sorry, this is the last thing I'll mention, and then you guys are going to practice. When 3 or more substituents are present, we begin at the substituent always that leads to the lowest set of numbers in the name. Something I haven't mentioned before, the numbers are actually called locants. It's kind of like, you know, GPS, global positioning system. I'll just be calling them numbers. I don't think we're going to deal too much with like crazy complicated compounds, but when there's 3 or more substituents, just number them so you get the lowest set of numbers in your name. So this one's a pretty easy one. This one is literally about as hard as they would ever get. I would never make one any harder than this, and it's honestly not that hard. Oops. So let's have a look at the easy one first, and then I'll get you guys to practice. Okay, so break it down. Methyl, methyl, this guy, this ring, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 carbons. So this would be cyclopropane. Cool. Okay, so now to name it. Well, obviously start at any methyl you want. It doesn't matter what methyl you start with. So I started up here, and here's my options. Let me pick another color, and I'll show you the bad way first. Let's look at the bad way. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if I went clockwise, that's that way, I would call this 1,4-dimethylcyclopentane. But I could go counterclockwise, and I get 1,3, the numbers are much lower, dimethylcyclopentane. Don't forget the di. Remember, guys, if you have 2 groups that are the same, you go di. If you have 3 groups that are the same, you say tri. And if you have, oops, it's hard to write and talk sometimes. And if you have 4 groups that are the same, you would say tetra. You won't really see tetra very much, if ever. But you will definitely see di and tri. All right, let me do the hard one. I got some questions in the chat there. Naim asks, why not cyclopropane? Cyclopropane has 3 carbons. Oops.
No, Mister, he mentioned that you write propane, but it should be pentane.
Oh, Naim. My brain, you can tell. It's the end of the week. My brain doesn't work. Naim, you saved the day. Of course, it's pentane. It's 5 carbons. Sorry, my mind is like racing because I'm trying to like name this and think about what I want to teach. Naim, bonus marks for you. 100%. It's definitely pentane. Cyclopropane has 3 carbons. And you know what sucks? Is that'll be on YouTube now. Oh, well, that's it. Everybody makes mistakes. Naim, thank you. That is, I should have read the chat earlier. I'll put a smiley face in the chat. Guys, honestly, if you catch me making a mistake, which definitely happens, you can turn your mic on and go, whoa, stop, if you want. If you don't want to turn your mic on, I understand. Not a problem. All right, cool. Okay, perfect. So let's look at the hard one now. I'm not upset that I made a mistake. I'm upset that it's going to be on YouTube. Anyways, maybe I can edit it or something. Okay, let's look at the hard one. So first things first, I'm not even going to worry about the ring. I'm going to look at my groups. This is a good one, actually, guys. This one is tough. We got methyls. We got ethyls. Okay, so I've done that. I can look at those groups and I can tell that none of them are as long as or as big as my cyclo ring. So I'm not like numbering, I'm just counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I have 7. This is obviously cycloheptane. Now, guys, I know the answer is written above, but what I'm trying to show you is how I would do this. I break it down. I write down all of the parts. Okay, here's the challenging part now. I need to number this so that I get the lowest possible numbers. So I'm going to start at the ethyl. Okay, and I'm starting here, you know, it starts with E, it's a good starting place. And I'm just gonna say, okay, what about this way? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This numbering it this way would give me a 7, that's no good. So what if I go backwards? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is gonna give me the lowest possible numbers. Okay, so that's why I call it 1 ethyl, alphabetical order, 2, 5 dimethyl cycloheptane. This is about as hard as they would ever be. And I don't know how you guys feel. It's not that bad if you break it down. Be careful, try and get the lowest numbers. It's like solving a little puzzle. So guys, these are 2 examples that you would definitely see on a quiz or a test. Why don't you take a minute and just name these 2 for me? I'm gonna put myself on mute and then I will come back. We'll look at these questions and see what else we can do for today. Probably not much. So I'll be back in 2 minutes and you can write the names in the chat. Okay, cool. All right, I'm recording again. Let's go through this. So Abdulaziz, same answer. This is cool. All right, so let's have a look at these names. Like, I know this is like a teacher cliche. It is truly if you're not familiar with the word cliche, I mean, like, this is something every teacher your whole life has been telling you. I mean, when teachers used to say this to me, I'd roll my eyes, but it's so true. All you need to get this mastered is just some practice. And you can do some of the worksheets I have. There's answers there. All the worksheets are uploaded. Even beyond my worksheets, if you type, you know, go to, like, what I used to do in university is, like, I'd go to Google and say, naming cycloalkanes worksheet or practice. So besides my worksheets, there's a lot of resources out there. Anyways, if you're sitting there right now and you don't understand this, you have 2 options. You can ask me to have a one-on-one like Zoom meeting with you, or you can practice, whatever you want. Or you could do both, ideally, I guess. So let's look at these. I do believe Naim is right, so let's check. I think the student was Abdulaziz as well, said he was right. Yep. Okay, so let's check it out. Name the functional group. Name the branch first. 1, 2. That's ethyl. Okay, name the cyclo. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that would be, I like this one because it's a square. So this would be cyclobutane because remember, butane is 4 carbons. Guys, one thing I'll mention, by the way, from what I can remember or what I understand, cyclopropane and certainly cyclopropane is not a very stable molecule on its own because it's so tight. Do you guys remember Vesper theory, valence shell, electron pair, repulsion, blah, blah, blah? Remember that? You know, atoms want to be spaced far apart as possible. So I'm not sure, I could be wrong, but I don't think smaller rings are that stable without some help. Anyways, that doesn't matter, but anyways. So I would name this guy, because it's here, I number it here. 1, 2, 3, and it doesn't matter which way I number it. I mean, clockwise, counterclockwise, who cares? Let me pick purple for the name. Now, really, the name here is just ethyl cyclobutane. Now, I think if my memory serves me, I think Naim in the chat might have put a 1 there. That's fine. But again, it's like math. You don't need the 1. You know, like in your math class, 1x and x, you don't need the 1. You can just write x. I don't care if you put the 1 in, but if you did do 1, You are correct, but you don't need it. Okay, but I mean, honestly, I mean, if it makes you feel better, like if you want to follow the procedure and number them, put it in. I don't care. I don't care. I think it's okay. Okay, let's go to this one. This is a good one. This is more like what you would see on an assignment or test or something like that, right? Not too crazy, but not too easy. We have an ethyl group, 2 carbons, methyl group. Okay, you're going to mostly see methyl ethyl propyl groups. Any longer, it starts to get like more complicated and look really weird. And I don't think this course is really about that. I think it's more of getting you guys ready for the common hydrocarbons in petroleum. So we'll keep it pretty simple. Now, here's the problem with this. How do I number this? I don't know how to number this. What do I do? I'm going to start at E because of alphabetical order. Now, I could go clockwise because, you know, I'm tempted to always go clockwise just because that's kind of how, you know, the way a clock moves is what I think about. But this is giving me a 1-5 situation. There must be a better way to number this. So I go counterclockwise, and now it's 2. That's much better. So 1-2 is a lot better than 1-5. So I would write this as 1 ethyl, 2 methyl, all one word, cyclopentane. Okay, pentane because it has 5. Typically from me, the cyclo groups that you will see will be pentane, pentane and hexane, obviously, or honestly, are the ones that use the most. All right, cool. What time is it? Oh, it's 1:13. Okay. How are you guys feeling? You guys, is this okay with everybody? You're all pretty quiet today. Everybody okay?
Yes, I have a question.
Yes, sure.
Yes, why you didn't start from methyl?
Okay, good
Like
question.
you methyl 1 and ethyl 2 and like that.
Can I answer the question?
Absolutely.
We use the alphabetical. The E come before the M. You
Yep.
remember A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N.
Yep, that's right.
Okay. Okay, but maybe we can put 1 with the methyl and 2 with the ethyl. But when we write it, when we name it, we put like the 2 ethyl and 2. I mean the opposite way. Yeah.
Right, but
Yes, exactly. I have the same question. Like, can we put the 1 with the methyl and the 2 with the ethyl? Like, we can start counting from the methyl?
no, you can't. Like, no. If you want to be perfect, the answer is no. If you do number the methyl first, you might lose a half of a mark or something. And Niam, I know you could answer this for me, but I just want to talk about my marking scheme. If you start the methyl with number 1, you will not get full marks. If you go back to my rules, this right here, you have to name it in alphabetical order. Okay. Now, you would never get a 0. You just, for full marks, you need alphabetical.
Could you please go to the previous slide?
Yep.
This one. Now we have 3 branches. We can start counting from the methyl, or start counting from the ethyl, or start counting from the other methyl.
Ethyl.
For example,
because
I'm not talking about the naming. I'm talking just about the numbering.
Okay.
Numbering them.
Yeah.
Counting them. You start counting from the ethyl.
Yes.
Can I start counting from the methyl, for example?
No. Start where number 1 is, because alphabetical order first.
Okay.
Yeah, these are good questions. These are great questions. Always put number 1 with the lowest alphabetical order. There are some exceptions to this that I would never give you, because like if you read this rule here, rule 3 here, when 3 or more substituents are present, we begin at the substituent that gives us the lowest number. There are some exceptions, but for the purpose of this course, call the first letter that comes first in the alphabet, call that 1. Always.
Okay, I have other questions, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, we have to draw that one. Like, for example, you give us the name and we have to draw it, or no?
Yes. Oh, well, okay. No, that's an interesting question. That's a really good question. The question is, are you expected to draw these? And the answer
Yes.
is 50-50. The answer, like, okay, after you guys do your first assignment on chapter 1, I'm going to give you an assignment on chapter 2. But because of Corona, COVID, social distancing, your assignments are on D2L. So anything you do on D2L, you only have to name them, because I don't know how to get you guys to draw on D2L without you writing it and taking pictures and scanning it, and I don't want to deal with that. On a test or a final where we will be on campus, you have 1 test on campus and 1 final on campus. You will have to draw them, but I will only get you to draw easy shapes. I mentioned this earlier. These I will get you to draw. These down here, I would never get you to draw because they're so hard to draw. Okay?
Okay, sir. Thank you very much.
No problem. All right. I'm going to actually hit stop record now because it's almost 20 after 1. But well, first of all, you can ask me any questions in a minute. I'm just going to hit stop. And second of all, I hope anybody who doesn't have questions, you have a fantastic and wonderful weekend. Remember, there's 14 of you here. Your lab next week is online, and you don't have to be there at 7:30. You can do it whenever you want. I'm going to post a YouTube video, and you can watch it whenever you want. So no lab at 7:30 next week. Okay, I'm going to hit stop, and any questions, let me know.